see, when I was younger, I was in the Boy Scout troop in New Jersey, and we camped a lot. A couple national forests. We went more to national battlefields, historic sites, and some state parks and some county parks, I recall. But I've been with my wife like 15 years, and during 14 of those years, we kept saying we were going to take a vacation, go camping, go to national parks, forests, and all the stuff that involves with that. Hiking, walking, swimming, rock climbing, etc., etc. And we've pretty much done a little bit or a whole lot of all of that. And I gotta say, I was in the Navy, went to about a dozen other countries, and got to see a lot of beautiful things there. But I guess I'm really glad we've been camping for the last 7 months, because every place we've camped at, except for the exception of one place, has been a national park or a national forest or a state park or a state forest and some city parks also. And we've also visited a lot of wildlife refuges and arboreums and beaches and lakes and rivers and streams and other locations like that in between. I gotta say, for anybody that just sits at home on the internet in front of a TV playing video games or whatever you do, you all need to get out and experience the real America. I'm actually quite amazed. We have some awesome national parks, actually the best in the world in this country of the United States. We have the best parks in the world. We also have some of the best national forests, some of the best wildlife refuges, and we also got many national monuments, historic sites, national recreation areas, national seashores, and national battlefields, and a few other things like that. But the main ones I'm going to talk about are our national parks and our national forests, which we've spent about 4 months in the last 7 or 8 months. And there's beautiful animals, there's beautiful scenery, and there's also some awesome rangers. We've met about 30 interpretive rangers that have been awesome, knew everything quite well. The fee and campground rangers have been awesome, and the few law enforcement rangers we've talked to on the road and wandering the trails have also been great, and so have all the camp hosts and volunteers. What's sad to say though, in many of these parks, I found out that when one person retires, their duties kind of get split up between mainly the volunteers, which I don't understand because they're already overworked and too few of them, and the few rangers that are left. And that position doesn't get filled because of the budget. I also know, like Shenandoah, you pay $15 to get into the park. $1 of that money stays in the park. Another $1 of that money goes to the Department of Interior, which hopefully half of that goes back to the park, being they oversee the parks. Now the other $13, you probably don't want to hear this, but it goes into the general fund, so President Obama or Congress could do whatever they want with it, like a vacation in some other country for the president's wife or whatever, which is wrong. Something there has to change. The laws and the attitudes also have to change. But it's really sad because these things are for our own enjoyment. Another example, going to D.C., you go to museums that are normally open to 7 or 8 at night, and there's a sign at the door when you go in, sorry, due to budget, we're closing at 5 or 4:30. And then you got the White House, which is totally closed off, which belongs to actually about 308 million of us, because the White House is United States property, which makes it all the citizens' property. But really, to get to the point, what concerns me though with the budget is not so much the hour. Well, yeah, it does. It is the hours, the jobs. Like for example, on Blue Ridge Parkway, which is the continuation of Skyline Drive in the Blue Ridge Mountains. There's 9 campgrounds there. 2 of them are just totally closed, and other ones are operating on a shoestring staff, so to speak, and stuff ain't getting done. What we've seen ourselves, though, are washed out stream crossing, which makes trails inaccessible. We've seen a lot of trails just so degraded, washed out, with trees falling over them in some spot. But then the parks don't have the manpower to do it. And what's really sad to this, let's take a step back to 1929. Great Depression in America. A lot of people killed themselves, people went hungry, people were getting divorced, people were doing drugs, doing all kinds of crazy stuff because there wasn't no jobs and the economy sucked worse than it even does now. Well, President Hoover at the time had this dream of a national parks in the east like he did in the west, and the two in particular are Shenandoah and Great Smoky Mountains National Park, with Blue Ridge Parkway connecting them. Well, because of the economy, obviously he didn't get reelected. So that allowed Roosevelt into office. Well, Roosevelt believed that everybody should be able to go see the national parks, and what he did, he established the CCC, which is the Civilian Conservation Corps. The CCC basically took any young man between the ages of 18 and 24, but realistically they noted they had people between 14 and 30 sign up, and they got free shelter, they got free food, they got free, well, let's not say free, because these people worked their butts off for what they got, actually. So it wasn't free, but it was provided for them, just like members of the military do now. And they got $30 a week. $25 of that money went back to their family, and $5 stood with them for spending money for entertainment. They also had access later on to education and other perks. They had hang gliding clubs, they had hiking clubs, they had their own football and softball team and their own like little Olympics and everything. Well, these people, and you can watch many of my videos on the National Forest and Shenandoah, any of them, and you'll see these amazing structures these people built out of logs, like telephone pole logs, and rocks this big and that big and that big. And these people carry these rocks sometimes for miles, up hills and trails that it was hard to carry a 50-pound pack on. But yet, they managed to move rocks that weighed several hundred pounds in many occasions. And they put a lot of effort in to it. Just like they leveled off this campsite that we're sitting on. We're on the side of a mountain. Around me isn't flat. Behind us, you see the camera is kind of flat, but not too flat. They did a lot of work. The government put a lot of money out. It saved our country. It put young men back to work. It fed their families. And it did all kinds of great things. This is why it really sickens me to see this stuff falling apart, not being maintained, trails being overgrown with plants, trails being washed out, not being repaired, parks being closed, sections of parks being closed, rangers being laid off. Like this year in America, we laid off 500 National Forest firefighters. Over the last year, we all know about the Great Dismal Swamp Fire in Chesapeake, Virginia. We also know about the wildfires in national parks in Texas and California, just to name a few. And there has been many others because of current storm patterns due to global warming. We have had more lightning strikes that has led to some of these fires. We have also had sick and desperate people cause some of these fires because of the economy. But yet the point is, what kind of country do we live in when we have a president and Congress that is letting our country fall apart? IBM, Microsoft, Xerox, Kraft Foods, Monsanto Corporation, they don't make America. They are part of America. They are a part of our economy. They do provide jobs, not as many as they all used to. But it's sad. What makes America America is its people and its resources. Our resources are this forest around me, these mountains that we're sitting on for recreation and recreation, as Roosevelt said during the dedication of Shenandoah. But know something? People of America, our leaders, Either we got to do something, we got to at least maintain our country and keep it stable. I'm not saying it's got to go uphill and the economy's got to have, 20% profit and all that, because that's what kind of got us in this position to begin with. Greedy people not being happy making 3 to 10% or whatever's fair, wanted to make 20-40%. But staying stable would be a good thing and holding our ground. What I see is our parks, our forests, our wildlife refuges, our museums falling apart. Even, I remember the earthquake that hit Norfolk, Virginia, I don't know, 3 to 4 years ago, which amazed me. I felt like I was in California, which knocked stuff off of the Washington Monument. Well, when we went to Washington, D.C., to see the Jefferson Memorial, Washington Monument, that on the mall between, I think it's Independence and Constitution Avenue, it's still closed off to the public. And I was downtown D.C. at least 5 times for the day, and I never saw anybody even working on the thing. It's like, come on, America. Don't we want to at least maintain what we've invested for our future generations? I ain't got kids, but I know most people do. And I know if I did have kids, I'd want to be able to take my kids to a clean, well-preserved national park, forest with well-trained, caring rangers, which that we do have. But unfortunately, the trails, the roads, some bridges, stream crossings, and I could go on and on as things are falling apart. Even campsites are being overtaken by this plant and trails called stinging nettle, which is worse than a stinging jellyfish on the beach. It's a very invasive, kind of, I hate to use the word evil plant, but it's useless because nothing could eat it and nothing could walk by it because it hurts. And it continues to burn and hurt. But that's just one example of many. It's like, America, we got to fix this. Let's save our national parks, our forests. I mean, even other institutions like the post office are in trouble. I don't want to see the post office go out of business. I like getting my mail. I like going to the national park and seeing a black bear. I like going swimming at Lake Sharando and the thing. Unfortunately, I think every trail we've tried walking in this park is out of commission, either because of the plants, the rock slides, or trees and vines across the trail, because they haven't been maintained, along with Torrey Furnace up the road, which was part of the Civil War history. And not one trail in this park has been able to be used. Between one trail is washed out by the lake entirely, totally dangerous. There's trail signs missing and everything. And it's sad, the amount of work that the Civilian Conservation Corps put into this, and the genius that Roosevelt and his cabinet came up in creating these parks and recreation areas. This is a shame what's going on, fellow Americans. We need to end this, and we need to end it now. Peace out. You done?